elected official, District E. If you have any questions about this show or ideas for upcoming segments in your neighborhood, call me. I'm at 702-455-6357 or send an email to rsw@ClarkCountyNV.gov. Thanks for tuning into Clark County Television. On behalf of our production staff, I'm Randy Swallow. We'll see you again next time in your neighborhood.
The weather is great, the setting is spectacular, and the music will move you. The Clark County Parks and Recreation Jazz in the Park series is in its 24th season. This free concert series features many of the biggest names in jazz and talented local musicians. Come enjoy a relaxing night of great music. Bring a lawn chair, bring a picnic, a bottle of wine, or sample any of the fine food and drink vendors that will be on hand. For more information, call 455-8200 or visit www.ClarkCountyNV.gov. Jazz in the Park at the Clark County Government Center Amphitheater.
Driving a car in a diamond lane requires 2 or more people.
Oh, I'm sorry, but diamonds really are a girl's best friend. Now where's a girl gonna find another person to share a ride with?
Club Ride can help you find people to carpool with. Visit their site at rtcsnv.com.
It looks like someone visited the Club Ride website.
That's right. These diamonds really are a driver's best friend.
Hi, I'm Joe Gloria, the Clark County Registrar of Voters, and I'm here to explain how you can help us save more than $1.5 million this year. Every election, we print and mail hundreds of thousands of sample ballots. This is a significant cost and uses a lot of paper and other resources. But now voters can choose to receive their sample ballot by email instead of through the regular mail, and help us save taxpayers money and save hundreds of trees. Here's how you can help. Go to the Clark County Election Department website at clarkcountynv.gov/vote. Enter your information in the Registered Voter Services box to log in. Then click on the drop-down arrow next to Voter Services and select Request My Sample Ballot Electronically. Go green. This election season, help us save taxpayers' dollars and hundreds of trees. Choose email over regular mail for your sample ballot.
Are you a fan of Sunset Park? Clark County Parks and Recreation wants you to volunteer for its new Sunset Stewards program aimed at improving the visitor experience. Volunteers accepted into the program would be asked to patrol the park for at least 4 hours each month, report problems, and interact with park patrons in a positive way in order to educate them about the wildlife and caring for the 323-acre regional facility. For more information, please call 702-455-8200 or email sunsetstewards@clarkcountynv.gov.
This is Clark County Television, CCTV 4.
Just ahead on UMC Digest, we'll take you inside one of our operating suites to show you the latest in surgical robotic technology. Then a vest saved this man's life during a heart attack. We'll tell you how it works. And we'll introduce you to a teenager who survived devastating burns after a campfire explosion. Her outlook on life now is sure to make you smile. The UMC Digest starts right now. Welcome to UMC Digest. I'm Danita Cohen, and we're very glad you're with us. UMC offers the highest level of care in the state. We're home to Nevada's only Level 1 Trauma Center, Nevada's only designated Pediatric Trauma Center, Nevada's only Burn Care Center, and the only transplant center in Nevada. Our teams are able to take care of the most ill and injured patients in Nevada with the highest amount of skill and technology. That level of expertise ensures we're able to care for patients who may not survive anywhere else. patients like Andrew Lynn. When Andrew Lynn was rushed through the doors of this trauma center, it was a case not even our trauma team had ever seen before. And they've seen just about every kind of injury imaginable. But with Andrew's case, well, people usually don't survive this kind of injury. Take a look.
Here, throw it here, bud.
Daddy. I want mine, Daddy.
Andrew Lynn had already survived a tour of duty in Iraq and being hit by a drunk driver. Then, while driving late at night, he fell asleep at the wheel and hit a chain link fence. A fence pole went through the windshield and then through his mouth, narrowly missing his spine and puncturing clear through the back of his neck.
They started taking him out of the car and they put him on a stretcher, and as they came around the corner, my wife says, "Hey, he's got a pipe sticking out his head."
When the paramedics came, I guess they thought I was deceased, and I wasn't, clearly. So they started working to cut the pipe to get me out. When I was cut free, from what they've told me, I actually climbed out of the car and hopped onto the gurney all by myself, which I'm sure was a little trippy.
Andrew was transported to the UMC Trauma Center with the pole still going through his head.
He had a hard time kind of wrapping his head around it, no pun intended, about what had really happened to him and what he had been through. And, when I had talked to him about the part about how he was trying to text on his telephone, he couldn't remember any of it.
Dr. Coates had to figure out how to get that pole out of Andrew's mouth and neck, not something doctors learn in medical school.
The minute you pull this pipe out, all hell could break loose and they could start bleeding profusely.
So we called in a team of specialists only on call at UMC to figure out how to get that pole out of Andrew. In fact, the whole team at UMC came together in trauma OR, even down to a hospital engineering team who had to bring a saw to sever a smooth edge, and a nurse who ran ice-cold water through that pipe so it didn't heat up in Andy's head while they were sawing.
So that was really the concern, was, whether or not he was going to have permanent injury from lack of blood flow to his brain, and we were very fortunate that he didn't.
Dr. Nancy Donahoe and Dr. Jeffrey Moxley assisted Dr. Coates during a case none of them could believe.
If Andy's car had been going in any of 3 different planes of space, he would likely be dead at the scene. If the pole had ever been coming in any of 3 different planes of space, he's dead at the scene. And if his head had been positioned inside of the car in any of 3 different planes of space, he's dead at the scene.
The specialists were able to get the pole out of Andrew, left unscathed except for some oral issues, but alive.
It took a long time to be able to open my mouth again, because with the damage to the muscle and the tissue, it's almost like my mouth healed shut because it was wired shut, and those muscles healed in the shut position. So I actually had to pry my mouth open over time with popsicle sticks, or the tongue depressors. You'd stick them in, a stack of them in between my teeth on this side, and then I would wedge another one in between the middle and pry it open.
Andrew's injuries now were cosmetic. Miraculously, he was able to stand up and walk just 2 days after that pole came out of his head.
Especially if I felt horrible sitting in the intensive care unit, because you see people who are really in bad shape. And I remember, feeling really bad about seeing people in that bad a shape.
Andrew's case made national attention because of his incredible injury and the superb team who saved his life.
I tend to believe that there's just a higher power at work there. I remember Dr. Moxley, one of the things he told me was he couldn't have surgically put that pipe in any better than it was.
How do you explain that he's even alive, Doctor?
It's a miracle. It really is.
Andrew attended our trauma survivor celebration that is hosted by Caesar's Palace every year. Another patient who joined us that day was Casey Nita. You might remember her story in the media after she was involved in a campfire explosion last summer. That explosion nearly took her life and caused her an extremely painful recovery. But she refused to let it ruin her soul, because as you will see, Casey is one of the most positive people you will ever meet. It was supposed to be a celebration, a graduation party with friends, enjoying a bonfire on the outskirts of Henderson.
And so we set up our bonfire and we were hanging out, and I was paying attention to my friends, and within 10 seconds it exploded. And I remember being on fire and then being out, and then going up to my friend and telling her I need help. So we all piled into the trucks and we drove.
Casey was the most severely burned of 7 teens who suffered injuries. The kids drove themselves to the closest hospital, where they were quickly transported to UMC's Burn Care Center, the only burn care center in Nevada.
I wasn't aware of how badly I was injured because I told my mom to bring me a spare set of clothes like I was going to go home.
Once at UMC, Casey was heavily sedated, in a coma for 15 days.
When I first got Casey's consult, she was in the pediatric intensive care unit. She was intubated, she was sedated, and the prognosis was no one really knew. She was burned almost her entire body, so 85% of her body had sustained second and third degree burns. So no one really knew what was going to happen.
Casey slowly came to, and family therapist Kara Goodman was also at her bedside.
My first visit with Casey was in pediatric ICU, and when I first came to see her, it was the most amazing visit. She was so inspirational and so positive, even though she was in, the most excruciating pain, and it was a horrible circumstance, but our visit, she brought tears to my eyes because she was so inspirational and so positive, even though she was in this terrible circumstance and in this terrible accident. But she talked in the most beautiful way. It was just, I couldn't believe that this 16-year-old girl could take this circumstance that she had been in and want to be positive, and she wanted to make an impact on my life.
Casey would have an excruciating road of recovery ahead of her, with sometimes twice daily debridements, where her burned skin had to be scrubbed in order to clear infection and promote new growth.
All of the physical things that they face, the debridements, the dressing changes, are incredibly painful, but psychologically also. They're here, they're burned, so they face some sort of trauma, whether it's a fire, a car accident, some sort of trauma that they've been through. So a lot of times they're facing some sort of, maybe they're going through flashbacks, or they're having nightmares, they're facing some sort of maybe post-trauma. So it's psychologically very difficult for them as well.
A lot of emotional support, talking her through it, giving her the confidence that she can overcome. Music was a big coping mechanism for her. We would, turn the iPad on and turn Pandora on, and she would sing through dressing changes, and that was kind of just a way to connect with all the nurses too. Is, oh, have you heard the new, Taylor Swift song? And so that was kind of just her way of kind of escaping from the pain and just being able to sing and get her mind off it.
UMC trauma and burn surgeon Dr. Terry Lewis understands his patients are enduring physical and emotional pain.
The injury, the pain, the potential changes in how you look, and she saw the other kids that were hurt all get better more quickly and get back to school, and she was still hurting, and it was really a struggle.
Casey's road wasn't easy, and she would go home and return to UMC a few times more for her care. But her strength came from within, a will to live and a fight to survive.
And I really believe that that's what got her through everything that she's been through. Because it was horrific what she had to do, and I don't know how she did it, but I believe it's because she had that strength inside of her before that she was able to do that.
Get better every day, look better every day. That's what I want to keep doing. Getting better every day, improving every day. And I hope to impress other people, to make them want to move forward, and hope that they can do better with their lives.
Surviving a burn injury with unimaginable pain, recovery, and the physical and emotional scars patients will always carry with them is only made easier with a strong support system.
She's had Kim and Kara, and they take real good care of her. She's a good patient, but they go out of their way to really help her, and it has helped her.
The Burn Center, it's a team effort and there's a lot of people involved in. And a special shout out really goes to Kim, because her therapy, whether it's distraction or being with Casey at every operation, coming in and meeting her to help with the anxiety of the surgery beforehand and afterward, being there when she woke, and she really helped her prepare herself mentally for the operations and all the therapy she did, and that has been her help in getting Casey on the road just can't be underestimated.
Casey regularly participates in UMC's Burn Care Support Group, hosted by both Kara and Kimberly.
I'm not a burn survivor, and I've never had a burn injury, so I don't know how it is. But when Casey's met other teenagers that have been in the same spot, and they can talk about what lotions works, how their physical therapy has been, what exercises help keeping the skin flexible.
Casey also went to burn camp with other pediatric burn survivors and is now back in school with a painful past behind her as she looks ahead to her senior year.
I was elected by my student class to be on the homecoming court this year.
She's making remarkable progress. She still has some work to do. She got some scar tissue work to do, some rehab and physical therapy that's going to be a lot of work, but she's going after it now, and I have no doubts that she'll get back to 100% here very shortly.
She continues to surprise me every day. I mean, everyone that has ever met her knows she's courageous. I mean, to face situations that you're fearful of, and to come in for a dressing change that may be an hour, maybe 2 hours, and you have a smile on your face, like, not everyone can do that. So, I mean, she was just awesome and strong and courageous from the start.
That it's never as bad as you think it is. You can always find the bright side of something. You can always make it through it. Always.
The UMC Lions Burn Care Center is the only one in the state. We treat patients from a 10,000 square mile radius and offer community education on how to prevent burns. Some tips include: make sure you have smoke alarms in your home on every floor and near sleeping rooms. Test those smoke alarms once a month. Cook with care and never leave children alone in the kitchen. And check your water heater's temperature to make sure it's at 120 degrees or lower, especially if you have little ones. When we come back, another amazing story of survival, this time from a man who drowned and was under the water for 10 minutes before he was pulled out. His story on the other side of this break.
When you make a wish for yourself, you fulfill the wish of another. Coins from the Front Caesars Palace Fountain are collected and donated to the trauma and burn care units at University Medical Center, Southern Nevada's only public hospital. Our trauma and burn care centers provide the highest level of care in all of Nevada, right when people need it the most. So far, your precious pennies have done a lot of good. We encourage you to keep those good wishes coming. Thank you for your generosity. Together, we shine.
I survived because of the transplant center.
I survived because of the burn care center.
I survived because of the trauma center.
UMC. Together, we shine.
Welcome back to UMC Digest. We take you now out to Lake Mead, where Quincy Davidson's fight to survive began. It was a day on Lake Mead with friends until something went terribly wrong for Quincy Davidson.
We were just hanging out, like, on the shore, playing around, and then decided to go out into the water and started paddling out just near the shoreline at first, and then progressively made our way out, and I fell off of the raft into the water and was trying to go the opposite direction of the current, but I was swimming towards the current instead, and it pulled me back, and my friend Candace pulled me up, but she started falling down with me. So in order to like get herself back up, she had to let me go.
He had fallen into the water and was maybe submerged for as long as 10 minutes. And that his family members and friends got him out of the water and started resuscitative measures, which is CPR, on scene. And then we had heard that he had received probably about 45 minutes of CPR, both from family members and the EMS staff when he was en route.
Quincy was transported to another hospital and then came to UMC for a higher level of care.
And then when he got to us, he was completely supported with the breathing tube, with IVs, and was unresponsive. So wasn't opening his eyes, obviously couldn't speak, wasn't really doing anything for us.
The prognosis wasn't good. Quincy's lungs had become polluted with the water from Lake Mead. He had a pulmonary contusion and liver injuries.
Away from the drowning, just the fact that he had CPR for so long, typically those patients don't really regain much, brain function after they haven't had good blood flow to the brain for such a long period of time.
Quincy was in a coma in UMC's trauma intensive care unit for nearly 6 weeks, totally unresponsive.
We weren't very optimistic when he came in. The fact that he was completely unresponsive when he got here is also a pretty bad sign. So usually if the ones that do have some function come back, they usually come to us with a little bit of an exam. Maybe they can open their eyes, maybe they can do some posturing that gives us some idea that there's some brain cells that are still functioning there. And we didn't have any evidence of that with Quincy.
For weeks, the trauma intensive care team looked for any sign of response from Quincy.
There was members on the respiratory team that were just awesome because we spoke and I needed to know what he needed to do and where he needed to be at in order to get up.
And she had a much shorter recovery time than in the past.
The recovery time is incredibly different. I was able to get up, walk around. The level of trauma to my abdomen is significantly reduced with the robot. So, and the complexity of what they were able to do with the robot and the precision is amazing. It's state-of-the-art equipment. I'm shocked what they were able to do.
The UMC robot has what's called an endowrist, which makes it very flexible. Conventional laparoscopy utilizes instruments similar to chopsticks. The robot here at UMC allows the surgeon to control 3 arms with a switch on a foot pedal that is assigned to either the left or the right hand, rather than relying on an assistant's hands. It also has a